Today on Keep Classical Weird, I talk with two artists involved with the world of ballet. One is on stage and one is in the pit below. And the divide is bigger than one would think.
So nice to finally meeting you since, we perform together, but we don't really have a chance to see each other.
Yeah, it's crazy. You and I have probably done dozens of shows together, and we've never met. Welcome, friends, to episode 13 of Keep Classical Weird. I am your host, Casey Bozell, and today we'll be discussing the world of ballet. I should say, actually, that we'll be barely touching the tip of the iceberg of the world of ballet, as it is an art form with deep traditions and pedagogy that go back centuries. The origins of ballet can be traced all the way back to the 15th century as performative dance was emerging in the Italian Renaissance. Ballet as an art form took off in a particularly powerful way during the Romantic era, when some of the most famous ballet music was being composed, like Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty, and The Nutcracker. Yeah, I just named 3 pieces by Tchaikovsky, but he was indeed a ballet giant. Ballet continues to evolve today, with new works being commissioned and choreographed all the time, either to new or existing compositions. I found a wonderful and incredibly nice ballet dancer for this episode. She's been dancing professionally for 20 years, and we're lucky to have her right here in Portland.
My name is Xingqiu Turn, and I'm a principal ballerina with Oregon Ballet Theater. Also the artistic director of Oregon International Ballet Academy. I was born in Hunan, Chenzhou, so a small town in the southern China. And then when I was 10, and so the school of Guangzhou Ballet, they're doing like a national tour audition. So I went there, and there is like literally 3 rounds. Like you have to do a regional one. You pass that, then you go to the national one. So like there's in one province, there may be like 2,000 people audition. And at the end, they might pick 1 or 2. So something like that. So at the end, I joined the school with, that class. It's like about 50 students the first year. When we graduate, there's 12 people join the company. So we go to the school. It's like a boarding school. I left home when I was 10. So join the school and we do everything there. On the morning it's ballet and we do like point everything. It's the dance, right? And during the afternoon is academic school.
Xuan's story of leaving home at 10 is remarkable, but not uncommon. Ballet is a rigorous art form demanding a lot of the human body. And training from a young age is essential to really succeeding as a professional dancer.
Yeah, it's not like one day one day I decide to be a ballerina. No, it's just like how things driving me towards where I am right now. When I was 10, I even don't know what ballet really is because everything ballet is from the West, and everything until 10 I have never seen a real live performance like ballet. I mean, there is performance, or like in China, we always had like all kinds of performance, but it's all mixed, right? There's singing, there's acting, like it's more like more festivity like that. But I have never watched a real live ballet performance. And I remember I watched something through the TV. Like, and it's just like my parents teach me, if you decide to do something, do your best, try your best, and then if it doesn't work out, at least you won't be regret.
Once you go through all of this training, if you're fortunate enough to join a company, you are now tasked with learning a monumental amount of choreography. If it's a classical ballet, this choreography is passed down from generation to generation of student becoming teacher.
For example, if we do Sleeping Beauty or whatever, what we just did in February. Mm-hmm. Like 5 weeks to learn everything and to practice to perfect everything and then bring it on stage.
5 weeks
I
for...
think so. Usually it's 5 weeks.
And that's like
So-
a 3-hour show.
So hard. The most challenging one I have done classical, as I meant before I did Sleeping Beauty, I thought is Swan Lake.
Oh,
Because it's so long and you have to do 2 roles, right?
Right.
Audette and audio, and there's the fouettes, whatever, and then the white swan. So that's what I thought, and until I did Sleeping Beauty, why I find that's most challenging, because I have never done Sleeping Beauty the full length before. So this is actually my first time did it. So with Sleeping Beauty, it's so long. And Aurora is on stage all the time. Once she's on stage, there's no stop, and I have to change in costume change, quick change, 3 back and forth, 3 or 4 times. So that also take energy. So there's no time. I remember we are joking, like, dancers, when we're doing this in February with the Auroras, we're like, oh my God, I don't have time to go to pee. Yeah. Because literally, like, we are like, when I'm off stage, I'm changing, go back.
and then you go back on stage. Wow.
And then, so that was hard. And another hard thing is because the entrance, it was so hard, that entrance. Because usually when we do a classical ballet, you always have something to build to. Like Swan Lake, when Odette coming out, it's slower and you're doing an adagio or whatever, so you have somewhere to build. But with Aurora, Sleeping Beauty, when she coming out first act, that's variation. So for me, it's coming out like to do all the fast little jump.
Yeah.
That's so hard, and you have to be like, ta-da, I'm 16, this is my first day, hey, let's celebrate. And it's also make you nervous, right? So everything is just like you build, it's like, and then once you're done with that variation, you're like, okay, it's time to take a break. No, what comes after is the Rosa Adagio, which is the hardest thing.
Really?
It's like, because it's so long and all those balance we have to do.
Yeah, you have to take the rows and do the balance with all the suitors, right? That are coming in.
Yeah. The thing is, like, with this, it's so, like, I said, I feel I'm naked on stage, because if anything happened, there's no way I can save it.
Wow.
Because it's so pure, it's literally pure classical, right? Like Swan Lake, there's still the swan. You can be a swan. And with Giselle, she's a peasant girl. There's things, and Juliet, like, there's things, story-wise, you can not distract. Yeah, you can distract me to perform that, because I always say, if I'm in a story, if I just think about the story, I dance better, and all the technique, I don't need to worry anymore. But with Aurora, like, she's just a pure princess, and see how beautiful and graceful I am, and then. If you fall out from that balance, like, audience see it. Like, if you just shake. Yeah, so there's nothing you can hide. And it's because everything is literally pure classical ballet. After the entrance, it's like a climbing mountain. Once you feel, I'm at the top of this mountain. No, there's another one, high one you have to climb.
Wow.
Like, literally feels like that. Like, okay, I'm done with this variation. No break, okay. Rosa Adagio. Dun-dun. Now I did that. You have like maybe, 20 seconds to breathe. And then another very hard, the first act variation, Aurora variation. And after that, there's the coda. And then until I have to, like, after I'm standing up.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, oh my God, I can break.
Wow.
Take a break. No, costume change. It's always harder for the first act, because that's how you set up everything, right? Once everything first act is done, then I'm more I'm a little bit like, okay, that's the hardest thing I have done. Okay, next I'm just enjoy the rest. But the thing is, every single act is so hard. If it's a new creation, for example, if it's a contemporary new creation, it's made on us, I love it, because artists, the choreographer have all those ideas. But as an artist, as a dancer, we make their ideas to be coming true and become the reality. So we are also part of the creation process. So with that, basically, like they will say, okay, do this. I have this idea and I have to try my best to make their vision the way I can express what do they want. And then to how to remember if it's a contemporary, it's a new thing. And that's how I learn things too. Like I always see it, like I will imagine like in my mind, like, okay, this is how, it's more like a painting or like a Chinese calligraphy. Like there's shape, there's how your body move, and I always see it, and then I will. And another thing for ballet is all muscle memory, right? So we have to just keep practicing until your body will do it automatically. So you don't need to think anymore. So your body will just dance and react.
Near the end of this rehearsal process, the orchestra comes in. They have a crucial collaborative component in this art form, and I wanted to talk to the concertmaster of the Oregon Ballet Theater Orchestra to gain a musician's perspective.
So much of that genre is dependent on other people involved. So it's not just us on the stage, us, the musicians, and the conductor. So having a whole other team with us, choreographers as well, and costumes and dancers, of course, just makes it kind of it feels like a bigger art form, bigger collaboration, which is kind of unique in that sense.
This is my dear friend and colleague, Nellie Kovalev. She's been in the concertmaster position in this orchestra for 8 years now, and as such is in charge of performing all the violin solos in the ballet music repertoire. Last year was a performance of a particularly demanding one, the Stravinsky Violin Concerto. This was written to be performed with a violin soloist in front of an orchestra in a concert setting, but George Balanchine also choreographed an entire ballet to the 23-minute work. Now, the Stravinsky Violin Concerto on its own is, I don't know how you want to describe it. I have my own words of how I'd like to describe the piece, but how would you describe that piece just as general repertoire?
Insanity, pure insanity. It is very unique and different from any of the other concertos I've performed or in the standard violin rep, because it feels so much like a chamber music piece. There are so many sections where you're straight up playing duets or trios or little quintets with sections in the orchestra. So I've never really experienced that in a concerto, and that's pretty cool. It's also super quirky, just really quirky. So it's colorful. It's just kind of a fun piece in that sense. In that concerto, I don't feel like I am really truly the soloist in any way, because the soloists are on stage. The dancers are ultimately the soloists. So it was great to get to watch them and to see what's going on and just realize what my role is. So I still, of course, try to play as soloistically as I can, but ultimately the solo happens on stage.
And you got to see, is that because most of us in the orchestra don't actually get to see a lot of the ballet, we just play a lot of the ballet, but you got to go to a rehearsal and see like what you were playing with, isn't that right?
Yes, yeah, I went to a rehearsal. I also flew to New York actually to see the New York City Ballet do this production, because they were doing it maybe 6 months before us. So just to get the whole picture live, of course, I watched it and listened to it, but to get to watch it live was great, just to understand what's going on, because I don't know how many people have listened to maybe that concerto. I certainly didn't know it, hadn't listened to it enough before I was asked to learn it. And in my first listen to the piece, I just didn't even know what's going on. It's crazy. So it took a little while to really get to understand the piece musically, but then to get to see it put together with the choreography, it actually made a lot more sense. So I do wish in a way that my first introduction to the concerto was in a ballet setting, like in a ballet performance. And I think that comes from the great relationship that Balanchine and Stravinsky had together. They just understood each other so well. So in a way, I feel like that really helped to tie the piece together.
So you actually feel like through the choreography that the music made more sense to you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
The concerto is in 4 movements, which was also unusual. And in the middle are these 2 beautiful arias. And the first, what I sort of saw in my mind as I was listening to them, that second aria is just kind of, it's so beautiful, but also kind of sad. But then the choreography so wasn't. It was about them kind of showing, or him showing her the world, and it was more kind of a eye-opening, just something beautiful on stage, where in my mind it was just more of a reflection on maybe something a little more sad. So, and that's probably the beauty of choreography, can really take it in any direction that you feel.
In addition to on stage, off stage, and the pit, there's a very important component that makes ballet such a unique art form to experience: the audience. Xuan and I were able to compare notes about some of our favorite audience reactions.
So it's just like during the pas de deux, and there's a little kiss, like a pose moment, and then the music goes, and then we go bum 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 bum. That's silence music, and then we hear that, and the audience, I hear them. They're like, oh,
Oh,
yeah, they're like, oh, like some like that's make you like, and I hear that, I was like I actually laughed a little bit inside. Like,
that's so cute.
yeah, like stuff like that, and that's why it makes this thing so beautiful and so magical.
That reminds me of the time. I don't think it was your night playing Juliet. I think it was.
Oh yes.
Where the audience member cried out.
Yeah, the audience said, "Don't drink the poison."
Right.
She didn't die. Yeah, that's
she's
what
not
I'm talking
dead.
about.
She's sleeping.
She's not dead. Yes.
Yeah, and that was I remember in the pit, that was a really quiet moment in the music too, when she cried out.
I know, and I remember I was like backstage. I was like watching the monitor.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it depends the set. I cannot really watch from the wing, so it depends. And then everyone was like talking. Was like, someone just like cried out. I was like, what? And then like people are talking about. I was like, wow, yes, that's live theater.
If you're a musician, a dancer, or a ballet fan, all this talk about collaboration and excitement might have you feeling a little hopelessly nostalgic. I feel that way too. But just listen to Xuan talk about the electricity and spark of dancing to live music and tell me you don't just get a little more hopeful about the future.
And of course, live orchestra it's live, so it's just it's really different because it brings out more magic.
How so? Can you? I've heard ballet dancers say this before.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how?
So, with recording music, the tempo is always going to be the same. That notes will always be there. When I do Nutcracker, I know, the da, it will always be there with the recording. And then your body also know, then your body used to it. So you're like, it's like, if you take an adventure, right? With live music, it's like you don't know what view you're going to see. But that might surprise you. You will be like, wow. And with recording, it's more like, okay, we have this planned schedule and this is where we go. It's great, but it's like, ahead. And of course, the amazing thing is about live music is you don't know what's going to happen. Anything, right? Live, even it's a recording music. But with live orchestra, it's because everything is alive. As a dancer, I have to be more in it, like, living. Of course, every show should be like that one show, right? But with the live music, it can push you to another level, and it's when that amazing thing happened. There's no word can describe it.
And that's our show for today. My sincerest thanks to Xuan Chen and Nellie Kovalev for their wonderful interviews, both of which left me feeling lighter and happier. Our theme music is composed by Thomas Barber, and listening to his music will most likely make you feel lighter and happier too, so check it out at thomasbarber.com. Web development support is provided by Tina at citybeautifuldesign.com. Keep Classical Weird is created and edited by me, Casey Bozell. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and our Patreon page, patreon.com/Casey Bozell. We'll be back next week with another show. Wear a mask. Stay safe and stay weird.